All right, folks, we've got a conglomerate of news stories today. We're going to start out in North Carolina. We're going to talk about a paramedic that has pleaded guilty in an Eyedrops murder. In Louisiana, a man who killed two in a boating case is out after only 8 months in prison. We're going to talk about that. A Tennessee repairman. Well, he offered to trade repairs for sex.
Well, why not?
Well, he didn't get the response he was looking for,
Dang.
Kelly Jennings. In Texas, a woman is arrested after sending her ex's nudes to his family and his new girlfriend. We are, of course, bringing back our utterly unrelated segment, and we're going to talk about a Domino's pizza driver who has acquired $130,000 in tips.
I might need to change my career.
Feel-good story there. The Ketamine queen has been sentenced in the death of Mathew Perry. We're going to touch on that. The true crime time machine is back, and I'm not even going to tell you where we're going to go. We'll get into it when we get there. A Louisiana man, he got a little bit trigger happy.
Was it you?
No. This guy was in an Airbnb.
Oh.
And some bullets started flying through other people's walls in the Airbnb.
Not good.
We're going to talk about it and see what you would do in that situation. Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Is that where they make
Are you
Hershey
familiar
bars?
with that? Yes.
Yeah.
They call it that because the Hershey plant is there. So the HersheyparkZoo is one of the most popular zoos in the country. There's been an attack of a gray wolf inside the HersheyparkZoo. Kind of crazy story here that we're going to talk about. A Florida woman saved a double murder suspect from drowning at a beach. However, she didn't find out he was a suspect till after she saved him. Crazy story there. And of course, we got some stuff we'll do in every time. But for now, thank you for listening. Welcome to the show. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And Kelly, people may not have been expecting this drop today.
I know,
this is we just dropped one Friday. It's Monday, and we're dropping another one. We're just giving them what they want, right?
Is it because I accidentally showed up on a day we weren't recording?
No, I was teasing. I had the stories ready for her.
Yeah.
But I was playing a trick on Kelly when she came in. And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like,
You always and
we're recording.
I always second guess myself too because I'm always late or in the wrong place.
Right.
And so
yeah.
it wasn't that shocking.
Well, the joke was on you. We are recording today, and we're going to start off in North Carolina. And a former North Carolina paramedic accused of slowly poisoning his wife to death with eye drops, which is a method prosecutors and media have described as drip feeding her a toxic substance. Well, he pleads not guilty Monday to first-degree murder and related charges. Joshua Lee Hunsucker, who is 41 of Mount Holly, also faces allegations of staging his own kidnapping and assault while out on bond in an alleged attempt to intimidate his wife's late family. So Hunsucker was indicted in March of 2026, and I believe we talked about this.
I do too. When
the indictment came down, but it was on charges of first-degree murder, insurance fraud, and obtaining property by false pretenses. Now, his wife died in September 23rd of 2018. Her name was Stacy Robinson Hunsucker, and prosecutors allege he repeatedly added, and I want everybody to forgive me because, as you know, my pronunciation is not up there with KJ's, especially as it comes to medicine, but I'm going to try this one. Tetrahydrozoline.
Okay.
I think I did that one right.
You did really well.
It is the active ingredient in many over-the-counter eye drops to her food and her drinks. He was adding this over periods of weeks, which would cause her death while he collected a $250,000 life insurance payout. Now, he initially told families and authorities that Stacy died of a heart attack. So in a twist that absolutely drew national attention, Hunsucker was arrested again in February of 2023 after allegedly faking his own kidnapping. Authorities say he claimed he had been attacked, zip-tied, and injected with an unknown substance and even poisoned by the couple's young daughter with the same eye drop mixture in an effort to frame Stacy's parents as suspects and intimidate them as witnesses in the ongoing investigation. He also faces separate charges of witness intimidation tied to the alleged hoax. On Monday, April 7th of 2023, 2026, he stood quietly in a Gaston County Superior Court as his attorney entered a not guilty plea on updated fraud and murder charges. Now, Hunsucker worked as a paramedic at the time of his doctor's death. He remains in custody, and his bond hearing has been postponed as of now. But this obviously was big news when it first came out. I didn't even realize that eye drops could cause death, but they say when it's not only do they say it's a fact that when it's consumed in large amounts, it absolutely can kill you, and so that's where we're at.
Yeah, it sounds like he was watching Wedding Crashers before he started trying to poison her. Because remember, he did that in Wedding Crashers. He put the eye drops in Claire's fiance. It was Bradley Cooper played the part, and he put the eye drops in his drink, and then he got violently ill.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so they need to look at his movie watching history to see if he was trying to take pointers out of that. But
you know what? You may be onto something. I didn't remember that.
Well, this guy sounds like he is a total narcissist, that he would think he could plan all of this, fake your kidnap, like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, and the life insurance, obviously, anytime there's a situation where there's life insurance involved, and look, if you're married to someone, life insurance is not a weird thing.
Yeah.
I have life insurance. My wife has life insurance. It's a smart thing to do when you're married, especially if you have kids and things like that. So that on its face doesn't necessarily point to anything nefarious, but it's certainly going to be something police dig into, and they think that that was the initial motive, and they're likely right.
And I bet you he went that method because that's probably not a drug that's traditionally checked for in a basic toxicology. That would have to be an advanced.
Who would check for it?
Yeah, because not for human consumption. So
right.
That's interesting. In the
and it probably can't taste it. It probably doesn't have much of a taste to it if it's just in small amounts.
Let's get some. You want to try?
No.
First, you have to change me to the policy holder of your life insurance,
right.
And then we can test it out for the people. Yeah, it's probably got not a strong taste at all. Imagine how much you'd have to put in there too.
Yeah,
and then over time.
Over time, this was over weeks and weeks and weeks of doing it.
Golly, that's terrible. All right, let's stay right here in our neck of the woods in Livingston Parish, where a 35-year-old Jason Chason of Holden was released from custody on April 1st, 2026, after serving approximately 8 months in the Livingston Parish jail system for his conviction in a deadly boating crash on the Tickfall River that killed 2 people and injured 5 others. Chason was sentenced on August 1st, 2025 to 2 years in jail after pleading no contest to 2 counts of negligent homicide and 5 counts of first-degree vehicular negligent injury. Louisiana's good time credit provisions allowed him to serve roughly 1/3 of the sentence before his release to supervised parole. He will remain on parole supervision until his full-term release date of July 19th, 2027, according to the Louisiana Department of Corrections. Now, this crash occurred shortly after midnight on July 28th of 2024 when he was operating a 25-foot Sea Fox vessel while impaired. It collided with a 25-foot pontoon boat on the Tickfall River in Livingston Parish. Now, the impact killed Twee Guston, 31, of Springfield, who was a passenger in his boat, and Chase Sharkey, 36, of Greensburg, who was the operator of the pontoon. 5 other individuals aboard the vessels suffered serious injuries, and Chason had a prior DWI arrest already from 2023. Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries agents arrested Chason in late August 2024 on charges that initially included 2 counts of vehicular homicide. The case remained in Livingston Parish Court and was resolved through a plea agreement without any transfer to state prison facilities outside of the jail, the parish jail system. Family members of the victims have previously expressed disappointment with the length of the sentence, citing the impact of the tragedy on multiple lives, and Chason is now under parole conditions as he reintegrates into the community.
Yeah, and this one right here, very obviously sensitive subject here in Livingston Parish where this occurred. This was a horrific boating incident. I'm not going to call it an accident because of the alcohol involved. So it wasn't an accident. Someone jumped behind the wheel and decided they wanted to drive drunk in a boat, and that was the initial cause of this. Look, this was already shocking enough with the plea bargain that was issued, and from what I understand, there's 2 sides to that story. I'm not going to get into that because I wasn't in that room. But what I can say is on its face, if you make a plea bargain of 2 years, or it was a year for each charge, and they're served consecutively, meaning you have to serve one, then you serve the other, total of 2 years. In that situation, to get only 8 months, I would want to put in that plea bargain that you can't get good time. Yeah. That's just me, because I think that's a travesty. My personal opinion.
I mean, the loss of life here has to count more than 8 months. It has to.
It's a slap on the wrist.
It is.
I mean, that's nothing.
And for your
it's a hockey season.
Your second DWI? Your second? This is where a lot of my frustration comes in. And, maybe I do have a little bit of a personal thing here going on because Twee listened to my podcast, and I know that because her family reached out and told me that she was a big fan of it. And so you can't help but have your heart hurt that, someone that is in your community and supported you is now dead at the hands of a 2-time person convicted of DWI. So you only got 8 months for it. The first DWI doesn't look like much happened to you. Then you get out in a boat, obviously didn't learn your lesson. People die as a result of it. And now you're walking free 8 months later. I understand plea bargains happen. I understand, like you said, there's two sides to the evidence here. Obviously, that was laid out, and we are not here to debate what the truth was because we weren't on the boats and we weren't in the courtroom. But I can tell you that does not seem just to me.
Yeah, nothing about that seems just. And I didn't ever realize there was 1/3 good time. I had heard of a day for a day. Mm-hmm. And I do think, this is just my personal thought, but I think that there is a place for good time when you're someone sentenced to 30 years in prison, maybe as an incentive not to act like a total animal in prison. Yeah. You got to give some sort of incentive. I get that, but 1/3 to me is absolutely crazy. Yeah. And I think if you plea bargain, good time should be a part of that plea bargain somehow.
Well, and
I don't know. Maybe they should change that.
Behind the scenes, Jim and I discussed this days ago, just talking in general about good time. And we also had double good time back in, I don't know, I haven't looked at the law recently and if there's anything that's changed about that. But to me, in an instance where you've taken someone's life, rather than offer good time to behave, why don't we say, well, if you misbehave, we'll tack on more time? And I know that's pie in the sky thinking. You want incentive? I shouldn't have to. And I know I sound like a jerk here, but like someone died. Someone's dead. And then we're going to say, hey, if you behave, we'll let you out early. Well, you couldn't behave after the first damn DWI, son. Like, what are you doing here? So I just, I don't know. This is crazy to me that these children, and I know that Twee had children for sure, are going to live the rest of their lives without their mother.
And not only that, you have people that were injured. One particular young lady had to have her leg cut off.
Yeah.
Another person died. The driver of the other boat died.
Yeah.
This was horrific. And
how many times do we have how many times do you get basically no sentence? You know what I'm saying? How many times do you get away with this? Because I know people that have gotten a first DWI and it almost bankrupted them. They couldn't even afford to get on a boat.
Right.
Well, that's sick. And I hope that he carefully weighs what he's doing in the future.
All right, let's go to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Love it.
Isn't there a song, Chattanooga Choo Choo? You don't know that song?
I was thinking way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
No, that's
not the same
whole
thing.
Different state. We're going to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm going to tell you, car repairs can get expensive.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, my air conditioner actually went out recently, so I'm on that.
Well, not only do we realize that, but a 40-year-old employee of Fisher Trucking Company, he also realized that can be a rough thing for people to have to pay for. So he's facing charges of sexual battery and extortion after a female customer accused him of offering to waive half of her $4,000 truck repair bill in exchange for a sexual favor.
Whoa.
Then he allegedly pressed his body against her from behind when she arrived to make a partial payment.
Wait, cash payment or partial?
She arrived to make a partial payment on her bill.
I got it.
And he kind of got up behind her and basically said, we can go ahead and make half this go away right now. So according to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office affidavit, the victim's work truck broke down. This was in early March, and it was towed to the company that Kevin Foster was a representative of, known as Fisher Trucking LLC. And he quotes the woman approximately $4,000 to fix it. On March 11th, when the victim returned to pay half of the first bill. So it was $4,000. She shows up to pay 2 G's. Foster allegedly told her she don't got to worry about that remaining balance if she would do him a sexual favor. He then walked behind her and pressed his genital area against her. Now, she refuses those advances, and Fisher reportedly informed her the repair price for that refusal has now jumped to $10,000.
Oh,
so how you
my
like them
God.
apples? Yeah. Yeah, the victim provided deputies with audio recordings of the encounter. So there ain't no lying your way out of this one, my brother.
Cooked.
Fisher Trucking Company, which provides towing and repair services in the Chattanooga area, they haven't issued any public statement on the allegations. The company's operations were not immediately affected by the arrest. Hamilton County authorities have not released additional details, and of course the investigation is ongoing. But yeah, they're in trouble, or he's in trouble for sure, and likely them once everybody listens to this.
The audacity. And then to say the price went up. How about I punch
Now
you in
you
the
owe me
face and you
$10,000.
keep the change? Oh, my God.
It's good. It never ceases to amaze me, the balls of people these days that you're just going to press up behind a woman and say, we can make half of this go away.
I would have been busting out laughing at first. Like, I know you lying. And then, dude, I'm glad. Hey, kudos to her, man. She came with the video and the audio.
The audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going down. All right, let's go to
And I'm sorry, but before you jump into that, I do want to say this. I was inquisitive because she had an audio of it. And I'm like, how would she know to record on voice memo?
Did it before.
Well, that's right. I don't know that he did it before, but I would suspect that she had a sixth sense that this guy's ain't right.
Yeah.
He's making me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So next time I go in here, I'm going to make sure I have a record of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me opining. I have no direct knowledge.
Yeah, well, that was actually, when you were reading the article, that was exactly what I thought, was that he must have done something to make her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or he could have said something and then left and went to the back, and she turned the phone on and started recording from that point forward because of how uncomfortable he was making her feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could have been right then. But either way, what a dog. All right, let's go to Tyler, Texas, where Brooke Boys of Collinsville, Oklahoma, was arrested April 6, 2026 by Tyler police and charged with unlawful disclosure or promotion of intimate visual material after authorities say she sent nude photographs and videos of her estranged husband to members of her family and to his current girlfriend without his consent. Boys was booked into the Smith County Jail and released the same day after posting a $10,000 bond, according to jail records. The charge is a state jail felony under Texas law, punishable by 180 days to 2 years in a state jail facility and a maximum fine of $10,000. An arrest affidavit obtained by KLTV states that the investigation began after the victim reported that his estranged wife had distributed the intimate images and videos. The materials reportedly included photos and videos that clearly showed the man's face and a distinctive tattoo, making him identifiable. Texas law makes it a crime to intentionally disclose intimate, private visual material without the consent of the person depicted, commonly known as revenge porn.
Yeah, and not only Texas law, but pretty much most states have that law now, and good for them, because that was a big problem before that law took effect. Is people would try to embarrass their significant others, and a lot of times it was dudes, and they would have maybe their girlfriend, they're doing things in the privacy of their home, and maybe he had a few pictures or something like that, and if you leave me, I'm going to post these all over Facebook, or I'm going to put them out there online,
right.
And that became an issue before these laws took effect. So good for this guy that he said, screw that. You send this shit out, you're breaking the law, and she got arrested for it.
This is one of those things where, the saying like honor amongst thieves. Well, to me, there should be honor amongst exes in a way. And what I'm saying is that, no, hear me out. At one point, y'all did care about each other, obviously, because y'all participated in these sexual acts or whatever together. And it takes a special kind of low for you to then turn around. I don't care how mad you are, to turn around and then share intimate, photos and stuff like that of somebody else. Maybe I'm weird, but that's very low. I don't find that to be in any way. I don't even know what you think you're getting out of that other than humiliation, but tell me you're not over it without telling me you're not over it. That's just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, you get an argument from me. That shouldn't happen.
I don't know. You should be more honorable than that. And anybody who dates this woman in the future better.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Now she's out there that a lot of dudes are going to be like, I ain't dating that chick. Yeah. I ain't sending her no pic.
No.
Because it's going up, and she sent it to her own family, you said in that thing,
weird.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Hey, bro,
it was pictures
look at
of
this.
him. Yeah, look at.
Hey, sis, check this out.
Strange.
That's weird.
All right, let's go to our next segment, which is utterly unrelated. Of course, this is a new segment we're doing where we come across good stories sometimes that aren't necessarily crimes, but certainly worth talking about. This is no exception. I'm going to tell you about Dan Simpson. Now, Dan Simpson never expected a 3-minute detour to change his life. The 68-year-old Domino's delivery driver in Boise was just trying to make customers' order perfect when his store ran out of Diet Coke. What happened next has captured the hearts of people nationwide and turned into one of the best feel-good stories of the year. On March 27th, Simpson was delivering pizza to Brian Wilson's home when he realized the restaurant was out of 2-liter Diet Cokes that the family had ordered. Instead of disappointing the customer, Simpson drove to a nearby convenience store on his own time, bought the sodas himself, and delivered them, still piping hot pizza in hand right to that doorstep. Wilson's doorbell camera captured the heartwarming exchange. In the video, Simpson can be seen politely handing over the pizza and the soda and waving off an extra tip with a smile. "Oh, you don't need to do that," he said. "It's a good tip." The customer replied back to him. He then casually mentioned he was just weeks away from retirement after 14 years of delivering pizza part-time while working days for the Idaho Department of Agriculture. Wilson was so moved by the gesture that he posted the doorbell footage online. The video exploded on TikTok, racking up millions of views, and strangers from all over the country were inspired by Simpson's quiet dedication. Wilson then launched a GoFundMe campaign titled something along the lines of "Help Dan the Pizza Man Retire Right," initially hoping to give the longtime driver a nice send-off. The response was overwhelming. As of this past Tuesday, the fundraiser has skyrocketed past $130,000 and it's still climbing. Now, Simpson, who had no idea the video had gone viral until friends started calling him, told reporters he was blown away. He said, "I've always tried to do the right thing for customers. It wasn't a big deal for me at the time. I just didn't want him to be disappointed." He added the kindness reminding him of why he loves the job, and he now plans to keep delivering pizzas part-time even after his official retirement in mid-April. Wilson, the customer who started it all, said the story proves that good people are still out there and the campaign still remains active, and supporters continue to pour in messages of appreciation for Dan the Pizza Man. As one donor wrote, "This is what humanity looks like."
Oh, nailed it. I love a good feel-good story.
There you go.
And hopefully maybe they'll take him and make Dan like a commercial icon for, the next season or something. Like, do the right thing and pizza melts your heart, or something like that. That's great.
Well, and that's not a bad. If I was Domino's Pizza, I would definitely look into using him as kind of some sort of spokesman for them in a few commercials, because he certainly, the fact that he has gone viral, he's got a lot of eyes on him. So the PR department of Domino's may want to look into that.
Yeah. Y'all share this podcast with them so they know what to do.
Yeah, there you go. Or maybe they're listening.
Yeah,
they might be fans.
They might be. That's really awesome. And congrats that one small gesture turned into something amazing for you, because you never know.
That's right.
That's perfect.
That's right. Not all the stories do we want to report that are, crime. We're going to give you a feel-good story every now and then, and that was one of them.
Very good. All right, well, let's now go back downhill, I guess. And we're going to talk about the North Hollywood drug dealer, Miss Jasveen Sangha, who is known to customers as the Ketamine Queen.
Yep.
She was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison on Wednesday for her role in supplying the ketamine that caused the death of Friends actor Mathew Perry. U.S. District Judge Sherilyn Peace Garnett imposed a 180-month sentence, along with 3 years of supervised release during the hearing in Los Angeles federal court on April the 8th. Sangha, who's 42, had pled guilty last September to 5 felony charges, including 3 counts of ketamine distribution, 1 count of distribution resulting in the death or serious bodily injury, and maintaining a drug-involved premises. Jasveen has been, her photos are everywhere right now on all sorts of news outlets that are covering the case. And prosecutors say that she operated a sophisticated ketamine distribution ring from her home, catering to high-end and celebrity clients. Court documents show she worked with co-defendant Eric Fleming to deliver more than 50 vials of ketamine to Perry in the weeks before his death on October 28th of 2023. Perry, who was 54, was found unresponsive in the hot tub of his Pacific Palisades home, and the medical examiner ruled the death an accident caused by acute effects of ketamine. Sangha was also linked to at least 1 other overdose death. Federal authorities described her as someone who lived a lavish, jet-setting lifestyle funded by her illegal drug operation. During the sentencing hearing, Sangha expressed remorse, telling the judge she carries her shame, quote, like a jacket, end quote. Prosecutors had recommended the 15-year term, which was ultimately accepted by the court. She is the 3rd defendant sentenced in the multi-person case tied to the Perry overdose, and Sangha has been in federal custody since her arrest in August of 2024. She will serve her sentence in a federal prison facility to be designated by the Bureau of Prisons.
Couldn't be happier to hear that.
Yep.
Deserves everything she's getting, plus some. Of course, Mathew Perry, everybody knows. Friend star, struggled with drugs throughout his life, wrote a book when he was on the mend or recovering, and then relapsed, obviously, which eventually led to his death. And it's not just ketamine that people are getting held responsible for now. You're finding many drugs that drug dealers are selling when they result in the death of an individual, and they can trace it back to the drug dealer that sold it to that person. They're getting charged with murder here in Louisiana.
Yeah. I have a cousin that I love dearly that struggled in life after his mother's death, and he died from ketamine use. Yeah. And I think in a way we could thank the stars that Mathew Perry was a well-known name, because that brought a lot of attention to what was happening. I don't know that would have necessarily happened had he not been a high-profile person. And so while tragic, this did work out, and he possibly has now saved more lives by taking her off the street through his own demise.
Yeah.
So good. And I hope that every drug dealer at some point, my pie in the sky dream, I'll never be in a Miss America pageant. Okay. I don't meet the standards there. But when they say what's the thing that you would love to see most, when they're saying world peace, mine would be that all drug dealers, suppliers and manufacturers get their ass locked up because they're killing people.
Yeah. And of course, the street name for ketamine, Special K.
Special K.
Special K. And it's been around a long time, but it really hit popularity due to primarily a lot of stars that were struggling with the drug. And sadly, Mathew Perry paid the ultimate price for being addicted to that one.
I have a little trivia for you real quick. Since ketamine is Special K, do you know, at least locally, any nicknames for crystal meth?
I can't think of any offhand.
Because I got two of them. I got 2 of them that always cracked me up.
Go ahead.
One of them, high-speed chicken feed.
Okay.
Because you be clucking all over the place once you smoke some meth.
Okay.
And the other one was That Girl. And I was like, that girl. Anybody, that girl, you got that girl. And it's because it's Crystal.
I don't get it.
The name Crystal is a girl's name, Crystal.
Oh, okay.
And so in text message or stuff, it referred to as that girl.
I see. All right.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Some
good times.
Backdoor knowledge there from Kelly Jennings.
Put me on the list if you're on Jeopardy and you get to make a call.
Right. All right, we're going to jump in the true crime time machine. And we're going to go to April 13th, which is today, but we're going to set it to 1993. And an incident I didn't even realize, I don't remember recalling this even occurring, but in the tense aftermath of the Persian Gulf War, a plot unfolded to assassinate the man who had led the coalition to the victory in Iraq. On the night of April 13th, 1993, just before former President George H.W. Bush was set to arrive in Kuwait City to commemorate the liberation of the country, Kuwaiti authorities thwarted what officials later described as a sophisticated car bomb attack orchestrated by Saddam Hussein's regime. Bush, who had left office just months earlier, was visiting Kuwait on the invitation of the Kuwaiti government. The trip was kind of meant to be a victory lap. Bush was going to receive honors for his role in Desert Storm, which had expelled Iraqi forces from Kuwait in 91. Instead, security forces uncovered a conspiracy that could have altered history. Officials arrested 14 to 17 suspects, smuggling a Toyota Land Cruiser packed with 200 pounds of explosives, primarily what's known as RDX, which is a plastics explosive that you wire to a remote detonator. And they also had Q bombs, which were recovered from the vehicle, which had driven across the Iraq-Kuwaiti border. They eventually were able to get the suspects and arrest them, and they confessed to these roles. And the FBI, CIA all launched this big investigation. But it was interesting that Bill Clinton, who came into office after Bush won, when he came into office in late June of 2023, he actually ordered a swift and targeted response to this with 23 Tomahawk missiles launched from U.S. warships into Baghdad. And basically there were several individuals that were still out there that hadn't been arrested. And I found it interesting that Clinton, who was a Democrat, Bush was a Republican. Okay, this was an instance where he said, well, this ain't right. You can't try to assassinate our president and then walk around Iraq like nothing ever happened, or Kuwait like nothing ever happened, and launch some cruise missiles at them. And that all occurred on April 13th of 1993, something that I had actually forgotten about.
I wouldn't have remembered. I was a kid. I mean,
aspect of the war.
I was 9 years old.
Bang.
Yeah.
You were a young one.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. But hey, I like the fact that regardless of whatever your political position is, you're not going to threaten the president of the United States, and you're definitely not going to threaten his life. So even if we have a new administration come in, you're still going to be held accountable. All right, now let's come back to Louisiana, where we're going to go to Shreveport. And a 41-year-old man is behind bars after authorities say he fired multiple shots from inside an AirBNB unit, which sent bullets through the wall and into the neighboring unit, which was on a very busy Shreveport street, and an incident that as you would understand, left guests terrified, but thankfully uninjured. Shreveport police responded to the reports of shots fired around 10:22 p.m. on April the 3rd. Officers arrived to find two adjacent AirBNB units occupied. The guests in Unit B told police that they heard gunfire coming through the wall from the neighboring Unit A. At the same time, the main Unit A, inside, there was a guy identified as Christopher Barter, called 911 himself, claiming someone was trying to break into his residence. He later admitted to firing the gun, telling officers he shot into a closet inside the unit, and police maintained phone contact with Barter, who initially refused to come out. After negotiations, he surrendered peacefully and was taken into custody without incident. A search of Unit A turned up a pistol and a plastic bag containing suspected methamphetamine on the bedroom floor. Crystal, that girl, he must have had some. No one was hurt in the shooting. Barter faces multiple felony charges, including aggravated criminal damage to property, possession of a controlled dangerous substance, a felon in possession of a firearm, and illegal carrying of a weapon with a controlled dangerous substance. Shreveport police have not released additional details or a possible motive or Barter's criminal history. The back-to-back Airbnb units sit in a residential area, and the guests in the neighboring unit were reportedly shaken by the gunfire, but cooperated fully with investigators. Local authorities emphasized the quick response that prevented what could have been a far more dangerous situation. And Barter remains in custody as formal charges are processed through the Caddo Parish authorities.
Yeah, Shreveport be wilding anyway, as the kids would say. Definitely a lot goes down in Shreveport, one of the worst cities in the state of Louisiana as far as crime is concerned. But, imagine if you're at an Airbnb, so you're probably traveling.
Yeah.
You're vacationing, whatever you're doing, and bullets start flying through your Airbnb from the neighbor. And I didn't know that they even did Airbnbs where they were like, this sounds like almost like townhome units.
Yeah. Someone bought it.
Obviously they do.
Put it on as an Airbnb.
And have you ever stayed in an Airbnb?
Yes.
I've never stayed in one.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically a hotel, but it's a condo or a house. I mean, it's same concept.
Maybe I'm just freaked out. I don't know, man.
So like when we go,
you can do a lot in a house to wire it up, spy on people.
You dang right. But you know what?
You can do it in a hotel room too, but at least there's people going in there that are looking, you got cleaners that go in there every day. I'm sure you've got managers that go into hotel rooms and stuff. You don't really have that if
I'm
an Airbnb, it's at someone's house.
I'm a snooper. Okay.
I'm not saying I'll never do it. I need to do that. I know a lot of people that do.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is I'm a snooper though. So when I go in, I kind of clear the building and look, obviously they could hide them anywhere, but I kind of try to check it out, make sure before I put my kids anywhere or whatever. But I mean, if you want to see my stretch marks and watch me sit on the toilet, I mean, I guess that's on you. But
oh my God,
we're not that great. But like down in Florida where we go, we've stayed like in a community that's nothing but AirbNbs basically, and it's just rental properties that's all they do.
No doubt, and I'm not criticizing.
Yeah.
I've just never done that, but I probably need to look into it.
Yeah. The last one we stayed at was actually 3.5 stories. And, I make the kids go up high. I'm not climbing all those stairs, but you kind of get your own space too. And you can stay somewhere much nicer than a cramped hotel room.
Right.
And the kids can play and, it's a good time.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to another vacation spot where I'm sure they got plenty of Airbnbs, and that's in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And a 17-month-old boy had his hand briefly caught in a gray wolf's mouth at the Zoo America North American Wildlife Park inside Hershey Park after he crawled under a perimeter fence and actually reached into the enclosure. An incident authorities say unfolded while both parents sat 30 feet away, distracted by their cell phones. The terrifying moment occurred at the popular Pennsylvania attraction, according to Derry Township Police. The unsupervised toddler squeezed through a small opening in the wooden outer barrier near the wolf habitat, then stuck his hand through the primary metal fence surrounding the exhibit. A wolf approached and instinctively placed the child's hand in its mouth, described by zoo officials as a natural investigatory or mouthing behavior common in wild canines exploring unfamiliar objects. They did not look at it as an aggressive attack. Bystanders quickly intervened, pulling the toddler away from the enclosure before his parents noticed. The child suffered only minor injuries and did not require hospitalization, thankfully. Police said security video showed the boy's parents, Carrie Sorter, who is 43, and Stephen Wilson, 61, both of Litwitz, had walked to a nearby bench area and were focused on their phones when the incident happened. Signs at the exhibit clearly advised guests to obviously closely supervise their children. Both parents were charged with misdemeanor endangering of the welfare of a child, and Zoo America emphasized there was no breach of the enclosure and the wolf involved in the exhibit remains in the exhibit and has all his vaccinations, thank God. Mm-hmm. This was not an aggressive action, but just investigatory behavior, they say. So, very popular zoo there, Zoo America.
Come on,
guys. Tops in the country.
You take your kids to the zoo. Why don't you interact with your children at the zoo? Why are you on your phone? I mean, I hate to be that,
I mean, I ain't going to say happen. I don't pop on my phone for a second or two. Even when my kids were younger, they're in college now, but
he was able to
not for long enough for them to crawl under a freaking fence and
put his fist in
that's
a
pretty
wolf's
wild.
mouth. Like, dang.
Right.
Hey, this is not funny, but have you seen that cartoon where the baby crawls up to the wolves and the wolf? They're like, I'm going to kill it.
I don't watch cartoons.
You should insert this audio.
I'm 51 years old.
Well, they lick it, and he goes, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. And he licks the little baby, and he goes, I'm in love.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like what this one did. He just went up and tasted the baby.
That's so weird.
That's a good wolf. No, because, in reality, if he would have bit the kid, then they would have had to put the dang wolf
up.
Yeah, and then he would have to put the wolf down. So, come on, man.
Yeah. Wolves are
dangerous.
I don't think you live in fantasy. Oh, dangerous. They will freaking tear you up, and they are wild animals. And yet they're not Twilight.
I know.
You look at them. No, you look at them like they're Twilight.
I want to pet that dog,
You
but
think
I
they're
know
gonna
I
defend
can't.
you.
I do.
Wolves surround you in packs, son, and they will tear you up.
Not my wolves. My wolves would be like, look, she's one of us. Protect her at all costs.
Ask that squirrel about that to attack you.
Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah.
Don't mess with a squirrel. I know that much. I'm scared. Squirrel will tear your ass up. All right, let's go to Vero Beach, Florida. And a woman who was visiting the East Coast became an unwitting, I guess it wasn't unwritten, it's written right here.
Right.
An unwitting hero when she sprinted into the Atlantic Ocean to rescue a man screaming for help, only to learn days later that the exhausted swimmer she pulled to safety is the prime suspect in a double homicide that happened the same morning. The dramatic rescue unfolded on the morning of March 24th near Rio Mar Beach in Vero Beach. The woman, identified only as Belinda, was out for a routine morning walk when she heard faint cries of, quote, help, 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 end quote, coming from the water. I looked and I saw someone in distress, Belinda told the news. Without hesitation, she ran into the ocean and coached the man to float on his back so the waves could carry him to shore. He said, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. And I said, do it. Get on your back and let the waves carry you. You can do it. Come on. Once on the beach, the man told her he would never go out that far again and added that he planned to take a long vacation. Video released by the Vero Beach Police Department shows Belinda crouching beside him as he crawled slowly onto the sand. Police now say the man Belinda saved is 64-year-old Jesse Scott Ellis, the primary suspect in the fatal shootings of his estranged wife, Stacy Mason, and Danny Uli, both employees of the Indian River County Public Works Department. The couple was found shot multiple times in a parking lot at the Indian River County Library around 7 a.m. the same day. Ellis and Mason had been married for 13 years, but were in the process of separating and selling their home. Authorities described the killings as a crime of passion linked to Mason's relationship with Uli. Surveillance video helped investigators quickly identify Ellis as a person of interest. Ellis remains at large with active warrants for 2 counts of first-degree murder. Police have urged the public not to approach him and to call 911 with any information. Belinda later learned the man's identity from news reports. I could not leave him in the water no matter what, she said. Everybody is going through something. She added that if she had known who he was at the time, she still would have helped, but would have called 911 immediately. The case has stunned the Vero Beach community and drawn national attention as a stark reminder of how quickly everyday acts of kindness can intersect with serious crime. Indian River County authorities continued their search for Ellis.
Yeah, and that has got to be the story of the day. We probably say the best one for last because you can't make that shit up, man.
No.
This guy, in retrospect, I'm sure she's like, I should have left him out there.
Yeah. Well, I think that she seems like a very reasonable and kind person. Even if I would have seen him drowning, I would have done it. Yeah. But I mean, even if he did murder him, I mean, still save him and then let him face the consequences of it.
Nicer than me.
Well,
if I knew he's a double murder suspect, I'd have been like, yeah.
Innocent until proven guilty, Timothy.
Shouldn't have gotten the water, fool.
He was probably going to commit suicide and then decided he didn't want to.
Right?
Why were you going out in the water swimming that far?
Kelly, you got any final thoughts today?
I do have some final thoughts today.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You've never had a final thought.
I have no thoughts in my head whatsoever.
What are your final thoughts?
Yeah.
You don't have any? Oh, my gosh.
Listen,
how do you not have final thoughts?
Like, final thoughts in comparison to what? You know what I'm saying? Like, life?
I don't know.
Liberty,
I'm just asking if you had any. That's all.
I do have some final thoughts, and my thoughts are that watch your children. Don't let them crawl into enclosures with wild animals.
There you go.
That's a good final thought.
That is a good final thought. And so thank you so much for listening. Stick with us. We're going into overtime. If you are a Patreon member on either Unspeakable or Exposed Patreon page, of course, we do a video version of this podcast where you can see pictures as we're talking about each individual segment. And we also have a new segment on overtime we're going to be doing called Foolish Felons. So
foolish.
Look for that coming up on Overtime. And until then, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And we're your host of Crime
Wire
Weekly.